My daughter-in-law thought I wouldn't notice her sneaking out at midnight with my late husband's briefcase. But I watched from the porch, heart steady, as headlights vanished down the road. The next morning, I made one quiet phone call that changed everything. That night was just the beginning. I don't sleep easy anymore. The nights in Baton Rouge are too full of memories and little noises that pretend to be harmless. The ceiling fan hums a rhythm I know by heart. The clock ticks with its old impatience, and somewhere far off a train horn cuts through the fog. It's the kind of night that carries secrets. And I've lived long enough to tell when one of them is walking through my house. My bones told me, "Get up. Mabel." I listened. At 68, you learn the difference between a creak of wood and a creak of conscience. I moved slow, barefoot, holding my breath like the air itself might betray me. Jonathan's door was closed tight. A faint glow slipped under it from his phone. The same glow that had comforted me since his father passed. He was home, safe. The rest of the house was too still. The kitchen light was off, but the hallway nightlight, always on, was gone. Someone didn't want to be seen. My eyes adjusted, catching the faint reflection of my late husband's photograph on the wall. Two faces under one glass, mine and Vera's. "Lord, give me clear eyes," I whispered. And there she was, Vera Kincaid, my daughter-in-law, her shoulders pulled in like a guilty child. She wore a dark coat and moved toward the mudroom. She lifted that old black briefcase, the one that once held Charles's contracts and insurance papers. Hers now by habit, not by right. My breath stuck. Something in that motion told me she wasn't leaving for a late drive or some harmless errand. She was leaving to bury something. At my age, you don't sprint, you plan. I slipped on my quiet shoes, palmed the keys, eased the porch door open. I didn't raise a ruckus, I murmured to myself. I raised myself. Her car started up the street, taillights gliding red through the mist. I waited until she passed the oaks before starting mine. The humidity kissed my face as I followed two driveways behind, lights off until the road bent. Vera drove the limit. No red lights run, no music. That alone was suspicious. She turned toward the industrial side of town, past the pastel houses of Spanish Town, where the paint always looked too cheerful for its age. I knew these back roads. I'd paid taxes on them for decades. She slowed near the old levee fence, her signal flickering late. That told on itself. "Not your first secret, Vera," I said softly. I parked 2 blocks away, cut my engine, and listened. The air smelled of the river, wet, metallic, alive. Her car door clicked. Through the fog, I saw her step out, clutching that briefcase like it might scream if she loosened her grip. The bayou fog hung low, rolling like ghostly breath. A barge horn moaned in the distance. Vera looked left, then right, never behind her. She walked toward the water, each step deliberate. I stayed still. One hand braced against the dashboard, the other covering the ache in my knee. "Don't blink, Mabel," I whispered. She lifted the case high. The metal caught the bridge light for half a second, then it vanished into the dark with a splash that sounded final. She didn't wait. She ran, shoes scraping, gravel flying. When she disappeared back up the road, I stepped out. The air wrapped me in damp silence. "Well," I said, "that tells on itself." The ripples shimmered under the moonlight, widening, then fading. I measured the distance, the angle, the camera posts from the bridge. All details matter. I can't out-yell a secret, I told myself, but I can outlast it. I pulled off my cardigan, tucked my phone in a plastic bag from the glove box, habit from hurricane seasons. My feet met the cold water, mud clung like judgment. My eyes found the place where the case went under. You don't get to drown what belongs to me. The river pulled, heavy and cold. A siren wailed somewhere uptown. I reached forward, feeling the metal brush my fingertips, slick and solid. The handle slipped under my fingers, slick with river water, the current tugging like it meant to keep its secret. My knees ached as I leaned against a cypress root, whispering, "Easy now, Mabel." The night hummed with Baton Rouge noises, barge horns, a train far off, mosquitoes, whining like gossip. My wallet and phone were sealed tight in a plastic bag, keys pinned in my sleeve. I wasn't reckless. I was ready. I counted each breath. 1 Mississippi, 2, pulling when the current softened. I wasn't out here to prove courage. I was out here to make sure the truth didn't drown with that case. The briefcase jerked hard, metal biting at my grip. Mud sucked at my shoes, dragging like something alive. The cold crawled up my jeans, sharp as pins, and every movement had to earn its purpose. "Don't be pretty, be steady," I muttered, finding rhythm. I heaved in short bursts, resting between, letting the current help instead of fighting it. A latch nicked my forearm, sting and warmth mingling with the chill. My breath came out in huffs that turned to prayer. With one last twist of my hip, I lifted. The case scraped over stone and landed on the bank with a dull thud. Heavy but mine again. Strategy beat strength every time. I crouched beside it, catching my breath, raincoat dripping into the dirt. I scanned the area, tire tracks near the shoulder, a cigarette butt smeared with lipstick. Vera doesn't smoke, but her nerves do. The case dripped a steady line back to the water. Evidence, if I needed it. I wrapped it in an old picnic blanket from my trunk. Chain of custody wasn't just for cops. It was for anyone who's been lied to before. I whispered her license plate twice, texting it into a draft message, time-stamped but unsent, a habit from years of keeping ledgers straight. The drive home was quiet. The streets knew when to mind their business. I took the long way, avoiding cameras and bars still open. The city slept in yellow streetlights and porch shadows. My wipers squeaked. Heartbeat steady again. "Lord, walk ahead of me," I said, soft enough for him alone. When I pulled into the driveway, I eased the garage door halfway and slipped in like a secret returning home. Inside. I peeled off wet clothes and tucked them into a liner to hide the drips. The briefcase sat on the floor, wrapped and patient. I set a kettle, covered the hallway camera's light with a sticky note, and wiped where the blanket had leaked. Routine keeps panic away. The house whispered. Just the hum of the fridge. Jonathan's steady snore down the hall. I locked the back door and sat at the kitchen table. Same chair where I used to settle bills and hearts. The latches on the briefcase fought me. I pried them open with a butter knife. Inside, paper, damp and cold. A flash drive, a folder stamped with a notary's seal, and a smell like mildew and deceit. I spread everything out, towel beneath, my eyes trained on details, a medical statement hinting at cognitive decline, my name corrected after a misspelling, an amended family trust, moving power from me to Vera as co-trustee, 10 forged signatures in blue ink, each one steadier than the last. My stomach turned, not from fear, but from insult. I kept this family's book straighter than our hearts, I whispered. I photographed each page, timestamp clear, paper lies, but metadata doesn't. I checked the flash drive offline, PDFs matching the fakes, created at 9:34 p.m., right after dinner, while she smiled over a glass of wine. I closed the drive, wrapped the papers, and slid them into a firebox. Tea poured steady, steam curling like thought, on the fridge. Jonathan's Little League photo smiled, tooth gap wide. I smiled back. "We don't throw people away," I murmured, "but we sure put them out when they poison the well." Before dawn, I cleaned up, mud-rinsed, blanket hung, wound covered. I tucked the firebox in the cedar closet behind coats no one touches. Ordinary chores hide extraordinary nights. Then creak, a floorboard. My breath caught, water running from the kitchen. Jonathan, or her. I snuffed the candle. Darkness knows how to keep secrets. The papers pulsed under my hand like a living thing. "Not tonight, child," I said, voice steady. "Tomorrow." Morning light crawled through the blinds, soft and sticky as syrup. I laid the table like always, grits, scrambled eggs, black coffee, a touch of lemon cleaner still in the air from last night's cover-up. The house smelled clean, but quiet like something watching me back. My forearm throbbed under its bandage, a souvenir from the river. "Bumped a drawer," I rehearsed, out loud to no one. The sugar jar sat slightly turned, my little trap to see who touches what. Folks think old women forget details. Truth is, details are the only thing that stay. Vera floated in dressed like a hymn, pastel blouse, soft voice, sweet perfume masking nerves. She smiled too wide, poured juice too full, called me Mom like it didn't curdle in her throat. Her phone rested face down, but her watch kept blinking under her sleeve. "You rest okay?" she asked. I said, "As well as a woman can." She offered to take the car for service. I told her it runs fine. She nudged the sugar jar back to perfect alignment. My heart nodded. Message received. Jonathan came in next, hair damp, shirt half tucked, the smell of coffee chasing him. He kissed her cheek first, me second. A small order, but I caught it. "You working from site or office today?" I asked. "Office," he said too quick, eyes darting toward Vera. "Baby," I said, "tell your schedule to your mama like you used to. Keeps my heart from guessing." He smiled but didn't meet my eyes. His hug was light, the kind that makes a mother wonder where she lost the weight of his trust. I folded a dish towel on the table, slid my hand over it. Beneath was a single photocopy of my legal name. I didn't say a word, just let it rest there, calm as church silence. "I'm doing some filing today," I said. Vera looked up. "Oh, I can help. You know I love to organize." "I know exactly what you love to do," I replied. "I'll manage." I held her gaze 3 seconds, Southern manners cutting off at 2. When I stood, she stayed seated. That's how you know who's leading. At the sink, water running. I spoke low so the faucet could blur the meaning. "Jonathan, your daddy used to say a person's paper is their second spine. Keep yours straight." He nodded, chewing on it like a sermon. Vera dried a glass too long, pretending not to listen. "Don't sign what you didn't read," I added, "and don't read what you didn't ask for." He said he'd leave early. She offered to ride along. I said I'd need the car by 10. "Of course," she smiled, and every syllable had teeth. When they finished breakfast, I studied the table, her phone face down, a fleck of glitter on the placemat, a water ring shaped like hesitation. Her smartwatch buzzed once. She silenced it without looking. I slid the dish towel back into the drawer. Message delivered. Threat measured. "We don't swing first," I murmured to myself. "We set the table and let the truth eat." Jonathan hugged me goodbye. "Call me at lunch," I said. He promised he would. He won't forget this time. Vera lingered, keys in hand. "I'll just run small errands. Do I said. No sugar in that word. The garage door creaked. Her car backed out faster than manners allow. I wiped the counter, even though it shone. Habit keeps hands steady. My phone buzzed, a banking alert I never set. The subject line read, "Authority Update." I didn't open it. I walked to the cedar closet, touched the firebox like a prayer box. "Not today," I whispered, steady as a pledge. "Today. I'm awake." The first buzz came at 9:12, a banking alert, neat and quiet as a snake in the grass. Transfer request, authority event. I didn't tap it right away. I read it twice. Let the words settle before touching them. The screen showed a beneficiary access. Toggle flipped last night. Timestamped 7:42 p.m. About the time Vera was smiling over orange juice. My heart didn't race. I've lived through worse storms. I opened my binder, the one that smells faintly of ink and lemon polish, and flipped to the last reconciled page. Money doesn't lie. Not if you keep it on paper. Money, I said aloud, is how people talk when they think you're not listening. Another alert followed. Checking to trust sweep. Pending approval. I wrote 3 numbers on a yellow sticky amount, time. ID. Pen to paper makes it real, makes it mine again. I called the credit union. "Fraud line, please," I said. Each letter in Hollis spelled like testimony, HOLLIS. The rep's voice was young, smooth as glass. I didn't match her rhythm. I made her slow down to mine. "Hold the account read only," I told her. "Not a freeze. Holds don't tip thieves." She hesitated, then clicked her keys. "Yes, ma'am." I see a co-trustee logged in last night. Form uploaded by notarized scan. "Send me the image," I said. "Secure message. PDF only." I wrote down her name, ticket number, time. A habit older than her paycheck. "Darlin'," I added, "I've been balancing checkbooks longer than you've been balancing sleep. Send me that file." The document came 5 minutes later. The amended trust page looked just like the one I'd fished from the river. Vera Kincaid's name parked right under mine, co-trustee with emergency powers. I zoomed in and saw the same watermark flaw from last night's find, faint but sure, like a bruise you can't scrub off. I went to my home office, cross-checked my originals, different font weight, 1 missing page number, batch assembly, I wrote in the margin, after dinner. You can fake a seal, but you can't fake a conscience. I scanned my original and emailed it to myself under the subject, Anchor. At 10:08, Vera texted, "Running errands. Need anything, Mom?" A heart emoji. First one she ever sent me. I typed, "We're fine." No punctuation, no warmth. From the muted doorbell cam, I caught her leaving once, returning with a manila envelope. Leaving again. Same blouse. Same steady walk. I logged the timestamp and wrote on my whiteboard, "Errands that loop aren't errands, they're drops." Then the mail app pinged, a certified envelope in today's delivery from Lone Oak Wellness. The clinic name matched the soggy paper I'd pulled from the briefcase. "Physician statement," the preview said. My pulse didn't spike, but my jaw tightened. "That dog won't hunt," I muttered. I opened my health folder, my own neuroeval, dated and sealed clean. I placed it beside a blank spot labeled court copy. The war was moving from whispers to paperwork. I texted Alton Reese, 11:45 if you can. I'm bringing the river with me. I packed deliberately, originals into the firebox, copies into a red folder, backup drive labeled by you. I made a second set in a padded mailer addressed to myself, a trick I learned when truth needed witnesses. "Put your truth where lazy hands don't climb," my grandmother used to say. I tucked it in the attic trunk and came down slow, knees steady. Jonathan texted, "Everything okay?" I replied, "Better than it looks." He answered with a thumbs up. Poor boy. Caught between two tides. Vera sent a photo of a grocery cart. Flowers, fruit, almond milk, a smile rehearsed for strangers. I didn't answer. Silence tells a longer story than speech. By 11:30, the printer spat the last page, ink drying like judgment. The kettle whistled. Tea time meant go time. I packed the red folder and the flash drive into my purse, locked the door, and said softly, "Paper remembers, even when people pretend not to." Then I walked out toward the truth. The elevator doors opened on the 12th floor, letting out a wave of cool air and the faint scent of toner and peppermint. I stepped out, red folder under one arm, flash drive in my purse. Alton Reese stood waiting, tall and steady, his tie loosened like a man who'd been up since dawn solving other people's messes. "You brought the river," he said. I nodded and set the folder on his table, and the mud that came with it. We went over every step I'd taken since midnight, the timestamps, the photos, the double copies. "Chain of custody," he murmured, tapping his pen. "A judge can follow that with their finger." He asked what I wanted today. "Visibility," I said. "Not noise." He smiled faintly. "Then let's make them watch the truth in color." He reserved the conference room, glass-walled with half-drawn blinds to tame the glare. The table gleamed, polished and cold. The projector blinked, humming like it knew what was coming. Alton stood at the far end, the facilitator. I took the head seat, the homeowner's place. Jonathan was told to help sort papers. Vera was invited for her organizing skills. She wouldn't miss a chance to shine. Alton's paralegal placed a small recorder on the table. "This will document our review," she said. I folded my hands. "We're just here to look at some papers. That's all." Calm voice, steady pulse. Jonathan came first, his eyes darting between me and Alton. "What's this about, Mom?" "Paperwork overdue for attention," I replied. Then Vera swept in, perfume before presence, holding a tan envelope like it was a prize. She smiled too wide. Alton read the consent script, date, names, purpose. Everyone agreed. "Happy to help," Vera said sweetly. "Color coding is my therapy." Jonathan chuckled nervously. When the door shut, the air sealed. That room became its own quiet courtroom. Alton began the show with my control copy. Each page projected crisp and clear, the authentic trust document, notarized, archived, real. "This," he said, "is the valid instrument of record." I laid my binder open beside it. "This is the house, the roof, the ground beneath it." He nodded and moved methodically, page by page, sticky tabs marking key sections. "We teach by contrast," he whispered. "The truth doesn't need volume. It just needs light." Then came the turn. The projector blinked to the counterfeit version, the amended trust, fresh from the fraudster's imagination. 2 columns side by side, left, mine, right, the forgery. A clause appeared naming Vera Kincaid as co-trustee with emergency powers, the font thinner, the watermark faint. Alton zoomed in on a streak of ink across the lower margin, same flaw repeated 3 times, a lazy printer's scar. "That's not Mom's hand," Jonathan said softly, his voice the age it used to be. Vera shifted her bracelet, smiling. "Clerical variance. Happens all the time," Alton replied evenly. "Not when metadata timestamps all match the same night." I leaned forward. Someone practiced my signature 10 times before choosing the best one. Silence. The projector whirred, displaying the copies from my flash drive, each fake, each numbered. Jonathan's jaw worked. He didn't speak. Then I asked, "Vera, what's in that envelope?" She slid it open like a magician unveiling a trick, a physician's statement, Lone Oak Wellness header shining in ink. Cognitive decline, it read. I pulled out my own document, recent and clean. We test batteries before we call the flashlight broken, I said. Jonathan looked between us, the air tightening. Alton tapped the table. Submitting false medical information is fraud. Mrs. Kincaid. Vera softened her tone. I was just protecting the family. I met her gaze. No, honey. You were protecting access. Jonathan rubbed his temples. Vera, please, did you do this? She didn't answer. Her silence confessed enough. Alton said quietly, We'll preserve this record and forward it appropriately, I added. This house runs on truth, not signatures made in the dark. The recorder light blinked red. The paralegal opened the door. Detective Lila Monroe is here. Vera's hands trembled. Jonathan stepped back. I exhaled slowly and said, Let her in. The truth was about to sit at the table. Detective Lila Monroe entered with a calm that filled the room before she spoke. Her jacket hung open, badge clipped neat and visible, one hand holding a small evidence bag. The clock on the wall ticked louder than before. We're recording, she said, voice steady. Keep your hands where I can see them. I sat at the head of the table. Alton Reese to my right, Jonathan to my left, Vera across from me. The manila envelope rested near her elbow like a loaded weapon she didn't understand. The detective placed the evidence bag on the table. Inside, a mud-flecked latch screw and a fiber swab. Recovered off the East Levee, she said. I thought to myself, the river never keeps a secret clean. Detective Monroe began her questions with precision. She displayed screenshots, timestamps from the bank system showing the amended trust upload at 9:34 p.m. Same night, same address range. Then came a still photo from a traffic cam, a white sedan turning off toward the levee at 12:35 Vera's car, make and model exact. Is this your vehicle, ma'am? The detective asked. Vera's answer came brittle. That's a common car. You can't prove that's me. Monroe didn't blink. A pawn alert hit this morning. Attempted sale of a Rolex Submariner. Serial matches your late husband's. Sale stopped when the seller refused ID. The air thinned. For the first time, Vera looked cornered. I exhaled through my nose, not in triumph, just in survival. Vera's tone shifted fast, sliding into the concern story. I was worried about Mabel, she said softly, glancing my way. The clinic letter was just a wellness check. Jonathan rubbed his temples. Vera, stop. I didn't ask for this. His voice cracked at the edge of decency. The detective wrote without reacting. Mrs. Kincaid, you understand a false medical declaration to gain financial control constitutes fraud? Vera swallowed, nodded, said nothing more. I stayed quiet, because silence, when earned, is sharper than words. Alton resumed the presentation, projecting both versions of the trust again. Detective Monroe leaned in, printer streak, identical across altered pages. She observed. The evidence bag contents followed, threading consistent with my briefcase model. Fibers matching synthetic blend from Vera's navy trench. Describe the coat, the detective prompted. Target. Vera muttered, Everybody's got one. The detective didn't respond. The clock ticked like judgment. Paper doesn't rush, I said aloud. It waits you out. Even Monroe's mouth twitched at that. Then came the cedar closet proof. Do you possess the originals, ma'am? She asked. Firebox, sealed mailer, notarized binder, I replied. She reviewed every page, the embossing intact, registrar number matching the bank's archived copy. She called Baton Rouge County Records. On speaker. The registrar confirmed, no lawful amendment exists. Original trust is unaltered. The air changed weight. Alton leaned back, satisfied. Jonathan's eyes lifted for the first time that day. Vera's charm fell right off her face. Jonathan's voice broke the hush. "Mom, I didn't sign anything, I swear." I nodded. "I know." He turned to Vera. "Tell them the truth." Her silence said the rest. Detective Monroe wrote a final note. "You can be wrong," I told my son softly, "without being evil. What you do next decides which you stay." Detective Monroe capped her pen. "Mrs. Kincaid, you're free to call counsel. I recommend it." Alton summarized, "Restraining order, fraud complaint, emergency hearing." I added, "House and accounts. Access revoked until court says otherwise." "You can't," Vera started. "I can," I said evenly. "And I am. Sometimes authority doesn't need volume. It just needs to have lived long enough." Detective gathered the evidence bag. "We'll be in touch soon," she said. Tone final. Vera clutched her envelope. Jonathan stayed seated, eyes unfocused. I rose, pressed my palm to the red folder, and said quietly, "We're done here." The courthouse looked smaller than I remembered, its marble steps glowing gold under a Louisiana sunset. People gathered in clusters, neighbors, clerks, folks who'd heard enough whispers to show up and watch. I walked beside Alton Reese, steady as a woman who'd already buried fear years ago. Inside, the air carried a hum of printers, nerves, and aftershave. Vera sat 2 benches ahead, pretending to scroll her phone, her reflection trembling in the glass. Jonathan sat between us, fingers folded like he was praying but didn't know for what. The bailiff gave me a nod from church. Judge Winston entered briskly, gavel struck, and my name, Mabel Hollis, echoed through the chamber. They called it an emergency protective and fiduciary freeze. I called it the moment truth learned to walk upright again. Alton stood, precise as ever. "Your Honor, Exhibit 1, the original notarized trust, verified this morning by the registrar." He clicked through the evidence like a man trimming branches. Clean, efficient. The forged amendment appeared on screen next, Vera's name glowing under co-trustee with emergency powers. Her attorney blustered. My client acted under good faith. Believing she was authorized, the judge cut him short. Authorization requires consent, not belief. I leaned forward slightly, and not imagination. The court clerk read out email timestamps, Vera instructing a paralegal to clean up the draft using my credentials. Jonathan's jaw went slack. The courtroom exhaled as the judge ruled, temporary injunction, full trust freeze. Vera stripped of access. The sound I made wasn't laughter or sigh. It was 40 years of endurance finally unclenching. Outside, Jonathan followed me into the corridor, steps unsure. "Mom, I didn't know," he said. I turned to him, voice even. "You believed what you needed to. Son, now believe what's true." The cameras outside flashed, a dozen questions thrown our way. Alton raised a hand, blocking them gently. "Public record by morning," he murmured. I squared my shoulders. I'd spent a lifetime shrinking to make others comfortable. Not today. "If they're going to whisper," I told him, "let them whisper about something worth hearing." In the parking lot, Detective Monroe appeared, phone raised. "Miss Hollis," she said. "The pawn dealer sent over the recording." She pressed play. The footage showed Vera sliding my husband's watch across the counter, saying, "It was my father-in-law's. He wanted it sold." The dealer asked for proof. Vera froze, grabbed the watch, and left. Jonathan paled. "She said she went out to think," he whispered. Detective Monroe pocketed the phone. We're forwarding this to the fraud unit. Charges pending. Sunlight hit the courthouse dome like fire, bright and exhausted. I didn't celebrate. I just breathed air that finally felt like mine. Back home, the quiet was deep enough to hear myself think. Locks changed, mail sorted, kitchen window open to the hum of crickets. I brewed coffee instead of pouring wine. Vera's ghost still lingered in the smell of lemon cleaner. I called Sister Lou from church, asked if they needed extra cornbread for Sunday's brunch. Peace isn't quiet, I told her. It's earned quiet. When I hung up, the stillness didn't hurt anymore. A knock came near 9. Jonathan stood on the porch, holding an envelope. "It's my statement," he said. "Character reference for ye." I took it, but didn't open it. Let's both be careful with our signatures from now on. He managed a sad smile. "You keeping Dad's watch?" I shook my head. "It's not about the watch. Baby, it's about what people think they can take while you're still breathing." Later, I sat at my desk and logged into the trust portal. Access restored. I revised the beneficiaries, half to Jonathan, half to the Community College Scholarship Fund. Typed the note, "For learning, not entitlement." Printed 2 copies, one for the cedar closet, one for the firebox. The act felt ordinary, but power often does when it finally fits. "At my age," I said softly, "revenge is just restoration done neatly." When I shut down the computer, the porch light flickered, timer off by a few minutes. Outside, a pair of headlights lingered at the curb, then disappeared down the street. I didn't move, just smiled and whispered. People always return to the scene, not of crime, but of consequence. The candle by the window burned low, then went out on its own. I woke before the sky turned blue, the kind of quiet that lets you hear your own pulse. Baton Rouge smelled like magnolia and damp grass after a night storm. The locks I changed yesterday caught the morning light just right. New, clean, final. I brewed coffee black. No cream. The red folder and the Bayou flash drive waited on the table like loyal witnesses. My husband's watch ticked steady on my wrist. When I checked my email, the court order sat bold and official. Trust reinstated, freeze confirmed. I whispered a small prayer over the sink. "Lord, let my name land where you want it." Then I texted Alton, "I'm ready to sign." His reply came quick, clerk's office at 9. I called Jonathan next. "You can come witness," I said, "or wait for the copy." His answer was a quiet, "I'll be there." Justice travels light. The parish clerk's office buzzed with copy machines and low chatter. Alton was already there, his tie straight, papers stacked like a sermon in print. The notary verified my ID, slid the trust restatement forward. My signature moved through pages that reestablished me as sole trustee, erased unauthorized amendments, and confirmed the new beneficiaries, Jonathan for half, the Baton Rouge Community College Scholarship Fund for the rest. I added a no contest clause and a fraud exclusion. Alton nodded approval. When the clerk stamped the recording number, it felt like thunder muffled by glass. "Paper," I said, smiling, "is how we tell the future the truth." I requested certified copies, one for the bank, one for the church fund. Alton chuckled. "Clean and final. Mabel." For once, that word didn't sting. It sounded earned. Back home by noon, I saw Vera standing by the curb, arms folded, sunglasses hiding what used to be pride. "Mom," she started, voice rehearsed. "We can undo this." I was scared we were drowning. I stayed behind the gate. Drowning people grab life preservers, not deeds. She shifted, grasping at her old charm. "Jonathan told me to—" I raised my palm. "Stop right there. Own your half." Jonathan's truck pulled up then. Engine idle. eyes avoiding both of us. "This conversation is done," I said. "Without counsel, it's just noise." Southern polite, iron underneath. Detective Monroe's sedan rolled in like punctuation. She stepped out holding a small speaker and a printout. "Mrs. Hollis," she said. The vehicle's infotainment cloud synced automatically. We found an unsent voice memo. She pressed play. Vera's voice filled the street, steady, too steady. "The forged page looks cleaner now. If Mabel fights, we push the doctor letter. I can't let her keep the house." Jonathan's shoulders sagged as if the ground beneath him finally told the truth. Detective read from her pad, charges under review, attempted fraud, forgery, and theft by deception. Neighbors pretended to water plants, but listened all the same. Truth has a way of drawing a crowd. When the cuffs clicked, Vera didn't cry. She just stared at me, looking for some corner of mercy. I had it, but it wasn't hers to spend. I signed the trespass acknowledgement detective handed over. "You're my son," I told Jonathan, voice level. "You're welcome on my porch, but your choices are your own now." He nodded, eyes wet. "I'll call Pastor Ray," I answered softly. "Mercy's a door, not a rug." The patrol car rolled away. The dust settled like a curtain call. Magnolia branches waved overhead. Peace looked green again. That evening at the church fellowship hall, I stood at the podium with pastor's wife beside me. Sheet cakes lined the table. Someone's grandchild played a hymn off-key on the piano. I announced the Hollis Trades in Nursing Scholarship, honoring my husband's name. The first award would go to adult learners returning to school. Applause rose, gentle but sure. "If you try to take what isn't yours," I said, "the Lord will set the table where everybody can see." I handed the certified copy to the college rep. Cameras flashed. Public truth lasts longer than rumor. Jonathan helped fold chairs after. Small steps back toward decency. Later, home again. I made tea and watched the porch light blink on. The watch ticked steady, like a promise kept. I slid the red folder into the cedar closet. Finished work deserves quiet storage. Texted Alton. "We're good." Wrote myself a note for tomorrow. Window company, 10 a.m. Normal life waiting its turn again. At 70, I murmured, victory is just order restored, with kindness left over. The porch light clicked off. The yard turned silver. My phone pinged, a new email from the college. Subject, first applicant story. I smiled and opened it. Tomorrow would need my yes again. Tonight, I'd already given it. The next morning, a soft knock echoed through my quiet house. When I opened the door, no one was there, just a small box wrapped in brown paper, my late husband's handwriting on the label. Inside, a key. No note. Only one question pulsed in my chest. What door had he left me to open?